I swear lately our dining table has turned into more of a craft table.
We have our goodies aligned.
Could disappear, but I needed more money than minimum wage could give me. That's when I started thinking about the chest again. The opportunity came 6 months later when Dad left for a weekend hunting trip. I shook Joel awake at midnight. "We're leaving tonight." We crept down to the garage with flashlights, and my hands were trembling as I pulled the tarp off the chest. I found a crowbar on the wall and wedged it under the lock. It took 3 tries before the metal snapped. Inside was nothing like I'd imagined. Stacks of $100 bills wrapped in rubber bands. Underneath the money was a black handgun and a box of bullets, and at the very bottom, photographs. I held one up to my flashlight and my stomach lurched. It was Dad as a kid, maybe 7 or 8 years old, with bruises covering his arms and face. Standing behind him was a man who looked like an older, meaner version of my father, his father. I grabbed all the money and stuffed it in my backpack. Joel reached for the gun, but I slapped his hand away. We're not like him. We left the gun exactly where we found it. 3 months later, my aunt tracked us down at the motel where we'd been staying. "He's gone." I gripped the phone harder. "What do you mean gone? He went into the garage 3 nights ago and didn't come out. Your mom heard screaming for hours, then one loud bang. My legs gave out, and I sat down hard on the motel bed. He left a note," she said. 5 words. I failed. I couldn't break the cycle. I didn't cry because I missed him. I cried because I finally understood him. He'd kept those photos his whole life, evidence of what his father did to him. He knew exactly what he was doing to us, and he couldn't stop himself. The chest wasn't a secret. It was a confession he couldn't make out loud. Joel and I never touched a belt, never raised our voice, never lifted a hand. The cycle broke with us. My daughter finally brought home a boyfriend I didn't want to kill. I'd been striking out with her boyfriends for 6 straight years. Kevin stole $20 from my wallet during Thanksgiving dinner. Brad showed up wasted to my wife's birthday and puked all over our new carpet. Then there was Connor, who called me sir while dealing weed to middle schoolers behind the 7-Eleven. So when my daughter Alyssa said she was bringing home her new college boyfriend for spring break, I braced myself for another disaster. "His name's Alex," she announced. "And he's different, Dad." Right. I'd heard that line before every single time. Alex rolled up Friday afternoon in a beat-up Honda older than my daughter. He walked to our door with nervous energy and a firm handshake. "Nice to meet you, Mr. Palos," he said, looking me dead in the eye. Most of her exes couldn't manage that much. Still, I'd learned not to trust good first impressions. During dinner, he was polite enough, asked about my work, complimented my wife's enchiladas, helped clear plates without being asked. He kept his phone in his pocket the entire meal. I found myself grudgingly impressed, but experience taught me the charming ones were usually the most dangerous. 2 nights later, I was in the garage at midnight wrestling with my motorcycle's stubborn carburetor. Alex appeared in the doorway looking sheepish. "Saw the light and thought you might need help. My dad and I used to work on bikes before he passed. I know engines pretty well." Instead of awkward small talk, he rolled up his sleeves and actually knew what he was doing. We worked in comfortable silence for an hour. He handed me tools before I asked. When we finally got the engine purring, he didn't take credit, just smiled and said it felt good to work with his hands again. Next morning, I found my toolbox organized better than it had been in years, every socket in its place. A note read, "Thanks for letting me help." Reminded me of my old man. I was starting to like this kid, but I was still waiting for the catch. 6 years of losers had trained me too well. On their last day, my wife collapsed in the kitchen making breakfast. 1 second she was flipping pancakes. The next, she hit the floor hard. Looked like a heart attack. Alyssa started screaming. I fumbled with my phone, hands shaking too bad to dial. Alex dropped to his knees beside my wife and started checking her pulse with steady hands. "He's an EMT," Alyssa sobbed. "An EMT." I'd been so busy hunting for red flags I never once asked what he did for work. He kept my wife conscious and calm while we waited for paramedics, talking in that steady voice first responders use. At the hospital, Alex stayed 8 hours even though his flight left that evening. Missed his connection. Paid $400 to rebook. When I tried to reimburse him, he refused. Alyssa needed me here. That's what you do for family. While we waited for test results, he quietly handled everything I was too stressed to think about. Called Alyssa's work, picked up prescriptions, made sure we had food at home, called my wife's sister so I didn't have to repeat the story 10 times. My wife was fine, just exhaustion and low blood sugar. Driving him to the airport the next day, Alex turned to me. "Mr. Palos, I love your daughter. I'd like your permission to propose after graduation." I pulled over and looked at this kid who'd proven himself when it mattered most. After 6 years of losers and letdowns, my daughter finally found a keeper. "You have my blessing," I said. "They're getting married next summer." He already calls me Dad. Everyone at our school knew Luis was a drug dealer. He didn't even try to hide it. The cops would pull him over for just existing, and whenever they caught kids with something, they'd instantly search him. But every time they did, they never caught him with anything. Police would show up and rip his locker open, pat him down, and he just laughed at them every time. One time, someone spread a rumor that it was in a locker nobody used, so they cut locks off every single locker. Still, they found nothing. They had literally no idea what to do. Every time they caught them with something, they'd say, "I bought this from Luis." He'd even tell them to. Our principal principal was furious until he figured it out. Over Christmas break, his son asked for shoes with a secret compartment in them, and it hit him. It immediately clicked. The first day back at school, he immediately called Luis into the office, and the second he walked in, the principal said, "Take off your shoes." Luis's eyes went wide, and our principal stood there. He knew he had them. Now, he had no choice, and took them off. Our principal was literally shaking with excitement, and the second he saw the shoes, his face lit up. He was right. Luis's shoes had hidden compartments in them. He knew he had him, but when he pushed them open, he was confused. They were completely empty, and Luis was laughing his ass off. "What is this? Where are they?" And Luis thought it was so funny. He told him he just got back from vacation. He didn't take any orders yet. We got a call from a woman terrified for her life, saying her ex-husband just broke into her house. She saw he had a gun with him and begged us to hurry. He was in prison after she came forward about being abused by him, but right after he was released, he went to her house looking for revenge. We told her to stay calm and keep the bathroom door locked, and immediately bolted down to the car, adrenaline pumping. But just as we got there, I realized I forgot the keys upstairs. I had to run upstairs to get them, not realizing
Give me just a minute.
that it cost us almost an entire minute. We circled the house and kicked in the door. "Police, get your ass on the ground!" My team was moving upstairs, but as we did, when we heard him break the bathroom door down, we all looked at each other and we rushed up. But just before we got to the top, he shot. Everyone flinched and covered their heads. We heard multiple pops, thankfully none of them hitting my team. But when we looked up, my partner was aiming his gun. He was on the floor. I knew there was no time, so I rushed over to the bathroom, praying the woman was alive. But my heart dropped. I looked inside and instantly recognized who it was. She was my daughter's best friend, but one of the bullets had hit her in the chest, and as they told me she didn't make it, I burst out crying. We were only a few seconds late. If I wasn't so careless, she'd still be alive. We were in the middle of a test when I caught a student whispering and pointing into his backpack. But just as I was about to stand up and bust him for cheating, he pulled out something metal and black. This kid was known for causing trouble and harassing multiple girls, one of them being my daughter. And since I was lucky enough to teach her that year, she was sitting right in front of him. I instantly started getting nervous. I didn't have a clear enough view to be sure what it was, but knew I had to get a better look, so I stood up pretending to help one of my students. However, the second I got a closer look, I realized what it was. It was a handgun. My hands started shaking, but as I sat back down, I dialed 911 on my phone, but knew he'd hear me if I even whispered. I knew I couldn't just walk out of the room and leave them in there, so I texted our principal, praying he'd respond. Sweat was dripping onto my desk, and as he held up finger guns at her, I knew I couldn't wait any longer. That's when I got an idea. I looked at that same student and wrote her a note that said, "Ask me to use the bathroom. Go get the principal, get him to check his phone, and leave the school immediately." And when I handed it to her, she could see how terrified I was. But without saying anything, she left the room. It took everything to hold back my tears. But then someone knocked on the door. Our principal walked in the room, and I immediately saw the kid get nervous. The principal walked up and asked him, "Could you come into the hall with me?" And he stood up with one hand still in his backpack. My heart raced as he walked past my daughter, but just before he finally left the room, he stopped. Everyone watched, and I saw him unzip his bag. My heart stopped, but before anyone could do anything, he pulled out the gun and aimed it directly at my daughter. I yelled, "No, don't!" and everyone screamed. I ran towards her, diving in front of her to stop it. I saw police running in behind him, but in slow motion, I saw him pull the trigger. This was it for me. I heard the click and was ready to take a bullet to the spleen, but when I hit the ground, I felt nothing. The police ran in and grabbed him from behind, and when the gun hit the floor, I saw he forgot to take the safety off. The bus driver looked at me through the mirror and said, "Kid, don't get off at your stop today." He reached back with his phone showing my mom's number. I grabbed it and called her. A man with a thick accent answered, telling me to come straight home, but I heard my mom screaming, "Don't come home, run." The bus driver instantly grabbed his radio. "Code red on bus 19. I need police at every stop." He told me to get on the floor. I dropped between the seats. From the floor, I saw us passing my house. A white van was parked in the driveway. 3 men in ski masks stood around it, and one was holding zip ties. My phone buzzed. A photo of my dad tied up in our basement with blood running down his face. Another text saying, "Get off at the next stop or he dies. You have 60 seconds. The bus driver looked at my screen and shook his head. "It's a trap. Don't move." I started sobbing, asking what was happening, and he just said, "My dad isn't who I think he is." 2 more white vans pulled up on both sides of the bus. He reached under his dashboard, and pulled out a satellite phone. Target's been found. Family's taken. I need extraction now for the package. He glanced at me. Yes, the package is secure. The white vans rammed us from both sides. Kids were screaming. He slammed the gas and plowed straight through. He told me my dad had been undercover investigating a trafficking ring for 5 years. Someone leaked his identity this morning. A van slammed into our back bumper and he yanked the wheel hard left. They're Russian mafia. A helicopter appeared overhead and a spotlight hit the bus. His jaw clenched. New plan. He handed me a backpack from under his seat. He pointed at a building with a red door and told me to run straight to it when he stopped driving. I asked about my parents and he said the photo was fake. My parents were in witness protection already. He slammed the brakes and hit a button. The emergency exit flew open. I ran fast with the backpack bouncing on my back. I heard gunshots, but I kept looking straight. The red door opened before I reached it. A woman in tactical gear pulled me inside. She handed me a phone. I heard my mom, "Baby, we're okay. We're all okay." I dropped to the floor and gasped from relief. 2 months later, I found out my dad had been undercover for 5 years. The bus driver was my shadow guardian, and 27 members of the trafficking ring were arrested. I showed my 4-year-old daughter a magic trick, and her reaction changed how I saw her forever. I sat down with my wife and daughter at a table and placed a candy in each of our hands. I closed my daughter's fist around her candy and told her to squeeze really hard. I told my wife the same. Then I blew on each of our fists, saying, "Now open." My wife still had one candy, but now my daughter had 2, and I had none. You see, I had my candy palmed the whole time, and while closing my daughter's fist around her candy, I was able to slip mine in without her noticing. My daughter looked at the candy in my wife's hand and watched her eat it. Then she looked closely at the 2 candies in her hand and the 0 candies in mine. I made a sad face to really sell my disappointment, and that's when something amazing happened. My daughter took her second candy and placed it back in my hand. Daddy had a candy too. She reached over and started physically turning my frown into a smile. "I won't let magic person steal your candy." In the middle of a test, the sprinklers started spraying. Everyone instantly screamed, "Ah!" But I realized it wasn't water spraying on us. Someone yelled, "What is this? What is on us?" We all tried to stand up and run, but everyone was slipping. The alarm blared, and the principal yelled on the speaker, "Everyone needs to get out of the building immediately. There is an active threat inside." But just before we could get out, our teacher stepped in the way. He said, "Wait, I think I just saw the threat out there." But the hall was empty. "There's nobody out there. Let us out." I tried to grab the handle, but he slapped my hand. "No, nobody's leaving." Everyone was coughing, and that's when I realized
Between traveling, spending time outdoors, and soaking up every bit of summer, my beauty routine definitely needs a little refresh. So today, I'm partnering with Dollar General to pick up a few affordable beauty essentials that help me keep my skin glowing and my curls healthy as we transition into a new season. Summertime is all about keeping my routine simple, especially when I'm always on the go. I love finding products that fit into my everyday routine without stretching my budget. And I love that I can find everything I need in one stop. Whether I'm restocking my everyday staples or trying something new, Dollar General definitely makes it easy to refresh my routine without breaking the bank. These are some of the products helping me maintain that effortless summer glow while keeping my routine simple and affordable. They help me keep my skin looking fresh and my curls feeling healthy, even on busy, hot summer days. Keeping the glow going is easy with Dollar General. And thanks to Dollar General, I'm stocked up, refreshed, and ready for whatever's next.
It's a one-on-one true RPA ball schemes. I actually have chills right now.
I liked the smell. Oh my god, it was gasoline. Half the class rushed over to the windows, but we couldn't just jump out because we were on the 3rd floor. Stacy yelled, "Please, let us out. We have to make a run for it." But he just stood there. He just said, "30 more seconds." Everyone was confused. "What? We need to go. We'll die from the fumes." But he just smiled. 20. "What if a fire starts? We'll all burn." 10 seconds. A girl yelled, "Ah! It's in my eyes! I can't see!" It was complete chaos until our teacher reached for the lock. He turned it. The door clicked open and someone walked in. "Thanks for letting me in, Dad." Stacy yelled, "Dad, you have a son!" They both turned around, locking eyes straight onto me. We all started backing up, and when I saw the guy's face, my heart sank. I recognized him. He pointed straight at me and said, You put me in jail for 5 years. Now it's finally time to get revenge." I couldn't believe my eyes. This was the same guy I had called the police on 5 years ago. He had tried to rob my grandma at gunpoint and had been waiting to get me back. We watched him pull something out of his pocket and hold it up, and we saw it was a Bic lighter. Everyone started panicking because one tiny flame, and we'd all immediately burn. I yelled, "No, please, you'll kill us all." He just smiled. He started flicking, and we all yelled, "Stop, please, we'll all die." He flicked over and over, and I knew I had to stop him before it worked. "Please, my grandma was all I had. I didn't mean to make you suffer." And when I said that, I saw our teacher look at me, but he looked upset. We were all crying, and I saw him really looking at his son like he didn't know who he was. Flick, flick. Then finally, it caught a flame. He held it up, but I saw our teacher pick up the fire extinguisher from the wall. I knew there was no way that tiny thing would save us from the fire, but his son said, "This is for what you did, for putting me in prison with those diddlers. Say goodbye." But right before he dropped the lighter, our teacher raised the fire extinguisher, and in one moment, he slammed it down on his son's head hard. His son instantly fell over, and our teacher stood there panting. He was crying. "I'm so sorry. I failed all of you. My son was a monster." The police ran in and grabbed him, and he looked at me one more time with tears in his eyes as they took him out. When they tried to put my brother with Down syndrome in prison, I burst out laughing. We couldn't afford to put my brother in a special program, so he was bullied constantly. He'd always just smile until he learned to middle finger people when they were mean, and when he made everyone laugh at them, they decided they needed to get revenge. He was walking with my mom, and a group of them decided to terrorize him. "What's up, Extra Downy?" They threw basically every chromosome joke at him they could, but when that didn't work, they moved on to my mom. She was pregnant, and they all threw things at her. "Trying again, huh? One monkey baby wasn't enough?" She was begging them, "Please stop, I'm pregnant." But they did not care one bit. She felt him clench her hand harder, and she was so scared, she started tearing up. My brother stayed calm, but the second he saw her starting to cry, he completely lost control. He immediately screamed, sprinting towards them full of rage. They were shocked, and he grabbed one of them, body slamming him onto the ground. The rest of them ran away, trying to get the attention of nearby police. He yelled, "You hurt mama," and he literally wouldn't stop swinging. The police had to grab them and cuff him. When the other kid's face was unrecognizable, they screamed to put him in jail. The judge took one look at him sitting there smiling and let him walk free. And as they screamed, he gave them his signature move. A student made a girl cry in my class, but it was so funny, I let him get away with it. As soon as she walked into my class that year, I immediately knew she was gonna be my problem student. She'd constantly watch TikTok in class and bully others. And when I took her phone, she lied to the principal that I assaulted her. We had a group project, and the entire class, she was bullying a shy kid, calling him a chopped loser, but she had no idea what was coming. I walked up to her and told her to stop, but as soon as I did, she threatened to call her mom and tell her I touched her inappropriately. She said, "It's not my fault he's such a loser. Nobody likes him for a reason." All of the students around her started laughing at him, and I could see his eyes start watering. I knew it was enough. I snapped at her saying, "Hey, you need to shut your mouth. I wouldn't be surprised if he's your boss one day." She stood up, ready to call her mom and get me fired. When the shy kid finally spoke, he cut in between us and said, "No thanks. I don't want to be a pimp when I grow up." My son went to blow out his birthday candles, but his aunt leaned in last second and blew them out for him. She'd been doing this for the last 4 years, never once caring it made my son cry. Not only that, but she'd also come wearing designer dresses and professional makeup to make the day about herself. She said she was too poor to celebrate birthdays as a child, so this was her way of taking back her childhood. So when my son's 10th birthday came around, I had an idea. I brought out the largest cake I'd ever bought. It had 3 layers, weighed 8 pounds, and had the candles already lit and placed. I glanced over at her face and saw what she was planning. We sang happy birthday, and my son went to blow the candles out. That's when she leaned in like always and blew hard. But what she didn't know was that I'd hidden springs inside the cake. Springs that were held down by temperature-sensitive latches that only stayed closed when in contact with heat. So as long as the candles were lit, the cake stayed together. But when she blew them out, the heat went away and the latches opened. The springs released, launching the entire center of the 8-pound cake into her face, covering her done-up hair, her professional makeup, and Gucci dress. My son started laughing so hard he was crying, and she ran out in tears. That's when I brought out the second non-booby-trapped cake for my son. My daughter came home crying with an F because her teacher doesn't know what color blood is. The first time I realized something was wrong, Riley came home from school holding out her arm. "Look, Dad, you can see the blue blood in my veins right here." She traced the blue lines under her skin with her finger. I put down my coffee and looked at her. "Actually, sweetheart, that's not true. Blood is always red because of hemoglobin. It's just darker red in your veins." Her face scrunched up, but Mrs. Miller showed us a whole PowerPoint about it. She even had diagrams from a science book. The next morning, I packed my work scrubs in my bag. I'm an ER nurse at Mercy General, and I was working the afternoon shift anyway. I sent Mrs. Miller an email asking if I could do a quick presentation about blood for career day that afternoon. She loved the idea. When I arrived, Mrs. Miller introduced me as Riley's dad who works at the hospital. 28 kids stared up at me from their desks. "I heard you guys learned that blood is blue inside your body," I said. The entire class nodded enthusiastically. Mrs. Miller beamed from her desk in the corner. I pulled out a blood collection tube from my pocket.
We're Hibbett, bringing you all all the brands you know and the sneakers you're still thinking about. Don't worry, they're still here, but maybe not for long. Sneakers don't wait, and neither should you. Don't miss out on the latest drops.
I'm strapped for cash.
You should sell some stuff on Depop. There's no selling fees and it's super easy.
I'm a millionaire. I ain't rich, so he is rich, and she is rich, and we is rich, oh.
Make money easily with no selling fees on Depop. Download now.
And held it up. This is what we use to draw blood at the hospital. Notice something. The tube creates a vacuum. No oxygen inside at all. I paused. When we draw blood with these, it never touches oxygen until we pop the cap off. I showed them photos on my phone of sealed blood tubes. See? Still red. Mrs. Miller's smile started fading. She shifted in her chair and cleared her throat. A boy raised his hand and pointed to their science textbook. But our textbook says it's blue. I picked up the book and checked the publication date. 1998. Medicine updates pretty fast. We used to think lots of things that turned out to be wrong. Mrs. Miller suddenly stood up from her desk, her hands gripping the edge. Well, thank you for that interesting presentation, Mr. Johnson, but we need to move on to math now. I nodded and started packing when a girl in the back raised her hand. So our textbook is wrong? The class erupted in whispers. Mrs. Miller's jaw clenched and her voice got tight. The curriculum says, actually, I interrupted, pulling up the state science standards on my phone. I walked over and turned my phone toward her. The current curriculum specifically mentions this myth as something to correct. She stared at the screen and her eyes narrowed. Her mouth pressed into a thin line and her nostrils flared. Can I speak with you in the hallway? The kids watched as we walked out and the door closed behind us. Do you have any idea how hard it is when parents undermine my authority? Her face was red and her voice was sharp. Now they'll question everything I say. I kept my voice calm. Isn't that exactly what we want them to do? Question things and learn critical thinking? She crossed her arms tightly. I've been teaching for 22 years. I'm not changing my whole curriculum because some nurse thinks he knows better than our textbooks. The next day, I found out Mrs. Miller gave the class a pop quiz. Riley came home crying, her face red and puffy. Her hands were shaking as she handed me a paper with a big red F on it. I took a deep breath and felt my jaw tighten as I looked at the question. What color is blood inside the body? Riley had written red, and Mrs. Miller had marked it wrong. I requested a meeting with Principal Davis and brought printouts of medical textbooks, the state science standards, and Riley's quiz. The principal called in Mrs. Miller and asked her directly, is blood blue inside the body? After a long pause, Mrs. Miller said, it's what the children understand better. I leaned forward in my chair. My daughter is crying every morning before school because she's afraid of getting F's for writing down the truth. The next day, the school replaced their science books. Now whenever Riley learns something new at school, she comes home and asks me, Dad, is this actually true or is it just a Mrs. Miller truth? At the ice cream truck, the man told me, don't mind if this tastes funny. I thought it was weird, but really wanted ice cream. My friends were already eating theirs, and chocolate was dripping down their fingers. Does yours taste normal? I said, as I turned to my little sister. She just shrugged without saying anything, and her tongue was already stained bright blue as she kept eating like nothing was wrong. So I started eating mine too. It tasted amazing, but seconds later, I started to feel off. The world started spinning. I felt like I was gonna pass out until someone grabbed my shoulder. Need some water, buddy? It was the ice cream man. He pulled me towards the ice cream truck, and I saw the water in the back. He told me to go get some, and my mouth was so dry I knew I had to. I walked inside, and he said, when's your dad coming back? I just wanted the water, but said, probably not for a few minutes. Why? He got a weird smile on his face. Then, he grabbed the whole tub of the ice cream he gave me. Go give some to your friends, then you can all come back for some free water. I thought they'd all be so happy, so I stumbled back out to give it to them. They were all so excited, but just before my sister took a bite, my dad stopped her. Hey, where'd you get that? Everyone started eating, and I said, the nice man in the truck gave it to us for free. My dad was a cop, so instantly looked suspicious. He immediately brought his German Shepherd over to the ice cream, but I said, Dad, won't Zeus die if he eats chocolate? He didn't answer. Zeus started smelling the ice cream and instantly started barking. Everyone was scared. He was going crazy, and the ice cream man came running out. Hey, what are you doing? Zeus was growling. I need my ice cream back, but my dad warned him. Stay right there. What did you put in that ice cream? But in that second, he ran for it. He tried to grab the tub, but my dad let go of Zeus' collar. Dad instantly grabbed all us kids and covered our eyes, but I could hear Zeus ripping him to shreds. They took the ice cream man to jail, and since I found out what he was planning to do to us, I can never eat ice cream again. My teacher shouted out, "Alex isn't your real name. Tell us what it is." But she doesn't understand. I'm in witness protection. It says here you go by Alex. She looked up at me. But your legal name is different. I felt ice flood my veins. The marshals had set everything up. New city, new school, new name, new life. They told me the school had been briefed. They told me my records were flagged. They told me I was safe. I asked her to please just call me Alex. She shook her head. I use legal names in my classroom. None of this nickname nonsense. If your parents wanted you to be called Alex, they would have named you Alex. My parents were dead, killed by the people I testified against, shot in our driveway while I hid in the closet and listened. That's why I was here. That's why I was Alex. That's why I could never be who I used to be ever again. I tried again. It's really important. I can't explain why, but I need you to trust me. She didn't even look up from her roster. I've been teaching for 22 years. I've heard every excuse. I go by my middle name. My parents call me something different. I'm finding myself. She made air quotes. School is preparation for the real world. In the real world, you use your legal name. A boy in the back row muttered something about it being the first day. Ms. Halverson ignored him. She ran her finger down the attendance sheet until she found my entry. Your real name is... I stood up so fast my chair scraped against the floor. Please, don't. She looked at me like I was being dramatic, like I was another teenager trying to make things difficult. She had no idea. She couldn't have any idea. But she also didn't care enough to wonder why I looked like I was about to throw up. She read it anyway. My full legal name. Benedict Rowe Calder. First, middle, last. I know it's a dumb name, but it's the one connected to a federal case that made national news. The one that got my family killed. The one I was never supposed to hear again as long as I lived. 30 students now knew exactly who I was. The room went silent. A few kids were already reaching for their phones. Any one of them could Google me. Any one of them could post it. Any one of them could tell someone who would tell someone who would tell the people still looking for me. 3 years of hiding, gone in 4 seconds. Ms. Halverson smiled like she'd won something. See? That wasn't so hard. Now, moving on, the classroom door flew open. A man in a dark suit walked in. I'd never seen him before, but I recognized the look. The way he scanned the room. The way his hand stayed near his hip. The way his eyes found me, then found Ms. Halverson, and went cold. He pulled out a badge. U.S. Marshals. Ms. Halverson's face went white. He walked toward her desk with the kind of calm that's more terrifying than yelling. That student is under federal witness protection. The name you just read out loud is sealed by court.
Real fans know, if you're not sweating before kickoff, you're not ready.
Oh, it's on.
All right, let's hustle. Game's about to start.
Find your next era with Vinted. With new categories beyond fashion, you can now sell pre-loved items from every era and make extra cash for what's next. Snap a photo from each angle. Upload your item, including price and description. And once it's sold, prep it for shipping. Sell on Vinted today with categories for all your eras.
You have potentially compromised an active federal investigation and endangered the life of a protected witness. Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. I didn't know, because you didn't ask. He took the roster from her desk. There's a flag in the system, bright red. Impossible to miss if you'd bothered to look, but you didn't look. You just decided you knew better than the federal government about what name to use for a 16-year-old kid. He turned to me. His voice softened, but his eyes didn't. Get your things. We need to move. Now. I grabbed my backpack. I hadn't even unpacked it yet. I walked toward the door without looking at anyone. A girl in the front row whispered, "I'm sorry," as I passed. I didn't answer. I couldn't. In the hallway, the marshal was already on his phone. "We have a breach. Full relocation protocol. Yes, today, right now." I followed him to a black SUV parked in the fire lane. A woman I'd never met was in the driver's seat with the engine running. I got in the back. The marshal got in beside me. The car started moving before my door was fully closed. "New documents will be ready by tonight," he said. "New city by tomorrow. New school by Monday." I nodded. I'd done this before. I'd do it again. He looked at me. "I'm sorry. This shouldn't have happened. You can thank your blockhead of a teacher." I gave my class 5 minutes to confess, or they were all getting suspended. I was bluffing. I'd spotted what looked like a mango vape in the hallway trash between periods. Our school cameras hadn't worked in years, and I figured scaring them was the fastest way to find out who it belonged to. I locked the door, slammed my hands on my desk to sell it, and told them the principal already knew what one of them did. My star student knocked over her pumpkin spice latte. "What do you mean suspended?" 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Silence. Then Adam, one of my nerdiest students, shot up so fast his chair crashed to the floor behind him. "Okay, I'll confess. I've been stealing clothes from the lost lost and found in the staff room when no one's looking and reselling all of it on eBay. I used the money to buy Pokemon cards. Layla screamed, "You've been stealing from Lost and Found?" Adam whipped around on her. "Shut up, Layla. Your family should be locked up. You're not even enrolled in this school. You're supposed to be at Westbrook, but you won't go there because it's more dangerous." Layla sat down and didn't say another word. None of this was what I was looking for. 3 minutes. That's when Abigail, the quiet girl who'd been in a wheelchair since September, grabbed both armrests and stood up. For the first time, ever. The room gasped so hard it felt like the air got sucked out. "I can't do this anymore. I'm not disabled. I don't have autism. I've been faking it since September because I didn't want to run in PE." Someone shrieked, "You've been in a wheelchair for 4 months. I play soccer 3 times a week outside of school. I just hate the coach here." Adam was shaking now. "We did a fundraiser for you. We raised $800 and gave it to you. Where is it?" Abigail didn't answer that. I was gripping my desk so hard my knuckles hurt because this had gone so far past what I expected that I didn't know what to do anymore. 2 minutes. The linebacker in the back row swallowed hard. "If we're all confessing, then I guess it's my turn. Remember when Mr. Holloway got fired last year for having fentanyl in his locker? Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Did you plant that?" I whispered. He nodded. "He gave me a D on every paper. I just wanted him gone. I didn't think he'd actually get fired." Adam screamed, "You ended a man's career. You're running a black market out of the Lost and Found." 2 kids pulled out their phones. "This needs to be filmed. I'd walked in here looking for a vape, and now I was sitting on theft, enrollment fraud, insurance fraud, and destroying an innocent teacher's career." Then Josh in the corner raised his hand. "I've been living in the ceiling." I stared at him. "The ceiling? My parents think I'm at boarding school. I just come here. Time's up," Mia sobbed. "What else could there possibly be?" I reached into my desk and held up the vape. Dead silence. Every mouth shut. Abigail, still standing next to her empty wheelchair, squinted at it from across the room. "Sir, I don't think that's a vape." I looked down at it, turned it over slowly in my hands, read the small print on the side. It was an inhaler. I stared at it for a long time, then looked up at my class full of criminals and said, "My bad." Nobody laughed. I put the inhaler in my pocket and picked up the phone to call the principal for real this time. My daughter begged me to put Christmas lights up, and even though it was snowy and cold out, I told her I would. I didn't see the ice, and when I climbed up, she passed me the lights and smiled. But right before we were almost finished, the ladder slipped out from underneath me. I fell and hit my head on the concrete hard, and remember the sound of her screaming. Then everything went black. I didn't wake up until I was in the hospital later that day, and felt the worst pain in my neck and back. I tried to feel for the bandages on my head, but strangely, I didn't feel anything. I was really confused, but barely managed to sit up, and noticed I couldn't move my legs. I looked up and saw a nurse walk in the room, and she looked really surprised. 5 more people came in, and all started asking me questions. I was really worried because I still couldn't move my feet no matter how hard I tried. I didn't know what was going on until an hour later when my wife finally got there. I was so happy to see her and didn't think anything about her in tears. I asked who the girl she was with was because she was also crying, and when she walked closer, I made the most shocking realization of my life. This 13-year-old was my daughter, and they broke the news I was in a coma for almost 9 years. I realized I had missed her entire childhood. I was paralyzed. My wife had remarried, but what hurt the most was when I went home to our house. My friend said, "Nothing, I just like watermelon," and the principal didn't believe him and